So how I use human design and what I think is essential for you to understand. I am very clear that uh, the human design system could be used optimally for how we connect with other people. So, relationships. How do you connect, and who are you when you're with your beloved, or what is going on so that there isn't enough connection or there's too much connection. Anyway, it's a whole lot of variety of what can happen with any relationship. We have a starting point that says, that's my kid. We should love that kid. But if you look at the chart, you know that not everyone connects all that well with their parents or their partners. And therefore, this is, to my mind, the most useful use of how the charts work. So I'm going to go back in history just a bit. If I understand what Ra promoted, it was you and your individual chart, and therefore how you get conditioned and what is acceptable to ignore or to reject. And I say there is nothing acceptable to reject. Everything is a matter of conditioning, and therefore the conditioning may be uncomfortable, but it isn't like you need to do anything about it. When I met human design at first, well, the way that we were originally taught, let's go back there. There was the definition type and the mode, either to do or to wait. And the second thing was the study of the ephemeris and how we get conditioned by the planets and what's going on, because planetary activations are going to be around for more time or less time, but influencing us. So I still think that studying the ephemeris and knowing what's going on with, let's call it the stars, but I mean really the planets, has a lot to do with how we use human design. That is one of the very fundamental tools, which is using the ephemeris. And I am very surprised when people I've never heard of order an ephemeris. It's like, what? Where are they going to get that? And equally, I am totally surprised that we don't sell more ephemerides, that it is not an essential tool anymore. So that sort of gives me a clue right away who's tuned in, who's not, who wants to stay informed, and who doesn't care. So I think it's quite a big deal. Anyway, how do I want to start this class? I first of all want to say that being able to see yourself coming back to you is a very, very advanced understanding. In other words, when you get conditioned by somebody, for me it was the heart center, but many people it would be the solar plexus or the sacral center. Anyway, no matter what conditions you, what is important to know is how you condition somebody else and how they have to uh, react or act from that or something. Anyway, that's a little abstract, but many years ago I came across this Chinese Buddhist. He lives in LA area. He wrote these little booklets that you can pay $1 and get. So I had several of those, and one is called, I don't remember, but I know it was something like the essence of Chan. And Chan Buddhism is the precursor to Zen. And therefore, I was interested in seeing what that Chan Buddhism was about. Anyhow, this booklet, and the reason that it affected me so much is this understanding of conditioned genesis. And this is a very primary Buddhist understanding that all conditions are the result of what's in the environment. And so when you understand that if the condition is gone, so is the result of that conditioning. And this is a clue for anyone who studies human design. It's the same understanding. So conditioned genesis, I would say, when we finally realize how conditioning works, and let's go back a step to also knowing our own charts. So somebody comes in with an emotional conditioning. If you don't have a solar plexus definition, this condition would change when the person leaves. And so really, here is the lesson, and here's what you need to know. You don't have to do anything because you just get to observe that. And I'll tell you, in my experience, in the conditioning was always this wish to tell the other person, the person who conditioned me, how to do that conditioning, how to be different, how to be somehow otherwise. And of course, I do think that it is not just me who feels that. I think this is what we do to each other, that we think that the other person ought to be different than the way they are. And so this is kind of a deeper clue for how to use human design. Somebody comes, conditions you emotionally, and you are not defined, or even if you are, you get to just realize you have nothing to do with that experience. So if you don't have the solar plexus definition and suddenly you feel whacked out because somebody came into your aura, came into your energy field, and you thought it shouldn't be like this. Look, we know emotions are not something that you are going to determine, and therefore you get to watch. There is the Zen part. You get to simply watch it, observe it. You don't have to do anything about it, and certainly you don't need to react. And right then you get the essence. Okay. So, these things that you get to just watch. And that's very advanced. I mean, if you get there, bravo you. But the fact that we are trained to be uptight and being conditioned and not liking it, thinking we could yell at the person and they would change because it's in our power to inform the other person, that is something that we get to learn. And so I just say there is no reason to react to the conditioning other than the habit of reacting. And therefore, that is the meditation. You get to see, oh, emotions, not my forte, and back out. Just watch it. Just say nothing. Just watch. And just by doing that, you're going to see that it changes. Now, I had a very long time of being conditioned in the heart center, and really, I definitely like this conditioning. That is the point. It attracts, and therefore I'm always, let's call it, a sucker for it. And in that desire to be conditioned, that is something separate. Now look at that. We're talking one pole, you are happy to be conditioned. The other pole, you are irritated, angry, uptight, whatever, being conditioned. And so you need to recognize first and foremost there's quite a range, and you don't get to determine that it's going to be pleasant, but what you get to do is determine that you are pleasant. And when you are uptight about being conditioned, that's a piece of it. That is something about your meditation. I think being stronger in our meditation is a worthwhile objective. Anyway, I can tell I'm running out of speed. Anyway, I'll go on tomorrow.